Good morning, class. Today we will be discussing the evolution of the frontal lobe and frontal cortex. The frontal cortex of mammals has been the site of significant reshuffles during the approximate 310 million years of mammalian evolution. The existence of the frontal lobe is linked to the emergence of major cognitive and motor abilities, from the development of efficient problem-solving strategies to the use of language in humans. The frontal lobe, and particularly its prefrontal domain, is one of the most varied brain areas among mammalian species, even within individuals, while also being present in all known mammalian species. The prefrontal cortex varies in size, accounting for 35% of the total brain volume in humans and less than 4% in cats. Its connections, cell composition, branching pattern of neuronal processes, and other characteristics are likewise very variable. Despite significant variances, some fundamental principles appear to support the frontal cortex primary functions. With varying specializations, the frontal lobe includes the primary motor region of the brain in all animals. With connections to the amygdala, basal ganglia, insular and medial temporal cortex, the prefrontal cortex functions primarily as an associative area processing multimodal sensory information. Since only mammals have a 6-layered cortical pallium, no other animals have a prefrontal cortex. That non-mammalian amniotes, like birds, also exhibit high levels of cognitive flexibility and abilities classified as intelligence, as well as the frequent use of languages in social communication, is thus very intriguing. These activities are all dependent on the frontal cortex in mammals. The same principles of the pallium's functional structure as those discovered for the mammalian cortex appear to govern and underpin comparable complex actions in birds and most likely other vertebrate species as well. Specifically, it is remarkable to identify a pallial structure in certain birds that displays the majority of the primary traits of the mammalian prefrontal cortex. It is quite likely that these executive structures have evolved separately from the prefrontal cortex because this pallial structure has no resemblance in them. The pallium of mammals and birds came to comparable, but independent, guidelines for developing executive brain regions due to similar functional limitations. The brain pathways of birds and primates that underpin sounds and language also exhibit a similar convergence. There are undoubtedly other kinds of animals that exhibit similar convergences. Thus, while the frontal cortex is exclusive to mammals, it is not the only structure of its kind to have developed over the various vertebrate species' evolutionary histories.
There have been conflicting findings in the past of a human-specific expansion of the frontal lobes. While some studies have shown that the frontal lobe has expanded globally, others have claimed that certain areas, like the prefrontal cortex, and tissue types, such white matter or hemispheres, have expanded specifically. The whole neocortex becomes disproportionately large as brain size increases because white matter, which contains nerve fibers connecting different structures, expands much more rapidly than gray matter or neuron number. Regardless of the region or tissue type used as the focal trait, be it the whole frontal cortex, prefrontal white matter, or limbic frontal cortex, humans scale just like any other primate. The same is true in relation to apes. They too have frontal lobes that scale like those of other primate species and classifications. In terms of absolute frontal lobe size, the human lineage has evolved at the fastest rate. Still, when considering the allometric connection with other brain regions, the human branch does not stand out. According to scientific findings, humans' frontal lobe sizes are typical for primates with our size of brain. even if the human frontal lobes are not huge, because it scales hyperallometrically with the rest of the brain. As it increases in volume, it becomes disproportionately large and they occupy an increasing percentage of the brain's total volume. This fact alone, it is speculated, could lead to increased functional capacity without shifts in relative size.